I'm never oiling that thing. I just love the creak that it makes. Oh my god. Hang on. Yeah, no, apparently on Instagram, I could hear myself. Sorry, I had to fix that. Hi, it's John Weber. Welcome to Mr. Weber's Web of Mystery, the show where I play you old time radio shows that I think are still effective and scary and great stories. And tonight is just simply one of the best. And I have said it, and maybe it's the wrong way to promote this, that this is not one of my favorite radio stories. Um, there's a very good reason. It's too creepy for me. This one is too creepy. I haven't heard this version, so you're gonna watch me get creeped out all over again because this is a new version. Anyway, it's gonna be so much fun. Let's get to it. Three Skeleton Key. Wait, I actually had it here. Three Skeleton Key is our story tonight here on Mr. Weber's Web O Mystery.
Mr. Weber's Web O Mystery. Ah, Mr. Weber's Web O Mystery. Oh, oh, oh. Mr. Weber's Web O Mystery. Ah, Mr. Weber's Web O Mystery. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Mr. Weber's Web O Mystery. Ah,
Okay.
Mr. Weber's
So
Web
simple.
O Mystery. Oh, oh, oh.
There we go. Okay. So tonight's show, Three Skeleton Key. I can tell you a thing or two about this show, but I will have to have a look at the Wikipedia page while I do it. This story first appears on radio in 1947 on the series Escape. Now, you probably know, because if you've seen any of the other shows, I can never shut up about how I love the show Escape. It is high adventure. It is mystery, supernatural. There's all kinds of stories. This one's a really bizarre story. Now, it was first written in Paris by a great author, and this young man's name is Georges Gustave Tuduz. Georges is Gustave Tuduz. Now, he is the son of a very well-known Parisian writer, Gustave Tuduz. And Georges was actually a great writer himself, the son of a writer, but still quite fantastic and really well regarded. He covered all sorts of nonfiction topics like art and architecture and travel. He was an expert on French naval history. And yet, of all the stories he wrote, and he wrote novels and short stories and novellas, of all the stories he wrote, the one he is best known for is this one, Three Skeleton Key. Now, what does it mean? It's about a lighthouse, and it sits on a little island just on the coast called a key. This particular key has a history. Now, this isn't, I don't think this is part of the script, so I like to throw in this detail that this is off the coast of French Guiana in South America. Now remember, this story was written in 1927. about as remote as it gets. I mean, sure, there are native people that live down there, but even in terms of a colony, it is very underpopulated. And the feeling of being alone and having no help and no other humans around that you can count on goes all the way through this story. There was a prison down there, and 3 prisoners escaped. They got to this key and they died there, and their bones were picked clean by birds. And when they found the key, all they found were 3 skeletons. So it's 3 skeleton key. Hope that's a little creepy for you. Eventually, the story is discovered by this guy, Arnold Gingrich. Arnold Gingrich was the editor of Esquire magazine. And one of the things that Gingrich liked to do was find stories about adventure, especially from exotic places. And this one very much counts. So he actually had it published in a 1937 edition of Esquire. Now, jump ahead 10 years. The show Escape is on the radio. They really do like to reference literature whenever they can. It's a very kind of classy show, Escape. So they found this story and they adapted it. The guy who actually wrote the adaptation is a writer named James Poe, James Wilbur Poe. He's an American film and television screenwriter, best known for such films as Around the World in 80 Days. So there's an adaptation. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, also an adaptation, as that's clearly written by Tennessee Williams. Lilies of the Field, Summer and Smoke. And you might recognize this title, They Shoot Horses, Don't They? That's James Poe. James Poe wrote this, and it was so popular, hugely popular in terms of radio. This one's a blockbuster. And by popular demand, every 4 or 5 years, they would bring this story back and perform it live again. Sometimes on the show Escape, but once on the show Suspense. That brings us to... All right, let me get it here. That brings us to the copy that we're going to hear tonight of it. It's a particularly good version. Very good copy, very good recording. What do I want? Share screen. There we go. And it is from a website we've used before, from a YouTube account we've used before, Suspense and Escape Remastered. These sound so good. This is a really, really good YouTube channel. I recommend it highly. Of course, I want you to get your stories from me, but if you want to get the stories directly, this is a great account. And let me make sure I click like on it. As I click like and subscribe, I hope you do as well. I know most of the people, all of the people in the chat have liked and subscribed my show. But if you catch this show later and you like it, I certainly hope you'll become one of us and join us for the live shows, join the chat. We always have so much fun. All right, we should get right into the story. Here we are. It's time for you to hear the story that I have been hyping for so long. And I haven't wanted to give away any of the details. So we know it takes place in a lighthouse, and we know the lighthouse is in one of the most remote areas of the world at the time this story is told. This story, which, by the way, is almost 98 years old. So I feel pretty young next to this story. Here we go. Starring the incomparable Vincent Price. I am a huge Vincent Price fan. I hope you are as well. Here is 3 Skeleton Key.
Tired of the everyday routine? Ever dream of a life of romantic adventure? Want to get away from it all?
We offer you Escape. Escape, designed to free you from the 4 walls of today for a half hour of high adventure.
Tonight, We escaped to a lonely lighthouse off the steaming jungle coast of French Guiana, and a nightmare world of terror and violence, as we bring you again, in response to hundreds of requests, Three Skeleton Key, starring Vincent Price.
Picture this place. A gray tapering cylinder welded by iron rods and concrete to the key itself. A bare black rock, 150 feet long, maybe 40 wide. That's at low tide. At high tide, just the lighthouse, rising 110 feet straight up out of the ocean. And all about it, the churning water, gray-green, scum-dappled, warm as soup, and swarming with gigantic bat-like devilfish, great violet schools of Portuguese man-o'-war, and yes, sharks, the big ones, the 15-footers. And as if this weren't enough, there was a hot, dank, rotten-smelling wind that came at us day and night off the jungle swamps of the mainland. A wind that smelled like death. A wind that had smelled the slow and frightful death that came one night to this bare black rock. Set in the base of the light was a watertight bronze door, and in you went, and up. Yes, up and round, past the tanks of oil and the coils of rope, casks of wicks, racks of lanterns, sacks of spuds and cartons and cans, and up, round and round. Over the light storeroom was the food storeroom, and over the food storeroom was the bunk room where the three of us slept. And over the bunk room was the living and cooking room, and over the living and cooking room was the light. She was a beauty, big steel and bronze baby with the sun gleaming through the glass walls all about, bouncing blinding little beams off the big shining reflectors, glittering and refracting through her lenses, the whole gigantic bulk of her balanced like a ballerina on the glistening steel axle of her rotary mechanism. She was a sweetheart of a light. And at night she'd lie there on the stone deck of the gallery with her revolving smoothly and quietly over your head, easing her bright white eye 360 degrees around the horizon. You'd lie there watching to see that the feeders kept working, that everything ran right. And it wouldn't be bad, the other two fellows snoring in their sacks 2 levels down. You'd smoke your pipe to kill the stink of the wind, and it wouldn't be bad. About those other two, Louis and Auguste. What a pair. Louis, he was head man, was a big fellow from the Basque country, black beard, little hard black eyes, and a pair of arms that I tell you, those arms were as big around as my legs. Yes, head man he was, and what word he let go was law. A silent fellow, and although I spent my first 2 weeks trying to strike up a real conversation, the most I could ever get out of him was,
Jean, I took up this profession because I don't like people. They want to talk too much. It's quiet work, light tending. Let's keep it that way. You're getting to be as bad as Auguste. I thought maybe for once they'd send me somebody who
That
could keep
was
his
Louis.
mouth shut.
When he accused me of becoming like Auguste, I quieted down, because Auguste was the talkingest man I'd ever met. The talkingest and the ugliest. He was hunchbacked, stood 4 feet high, had red hair and big blue eyes. It seems he'd been an actor in Paris.
Yes, indeed. Played in over 200 different productions, dear boy, at the Grand Guignol. Oh, but it was monstrous horrible, the way we used to scare the audiences. I was hated. Yes, they used to throw things and hiss and bare their teeth at me. Finally, it got too bad. I couldn't stand it any longer. I gave up the theater. My nerves, you understand. Yes, gave it up completely. I really did. Couldn't stand it any longer.
It all started one morning at 2:30. I was on watch, lying on the cool stone deck, pulling on my pipe, staring out at the blackness, the phosphorescent combers, and the big yellow stars, when out of the corner of my eye, I noticed something show up for a second, something the light had touched, far off. I waited for her to come around again, and when she did, there it was. A three-master, a big one, about a half-mile off, and coming down out of the north-northwest, coming straight for us. You must understand, our light was where it was for a very good reason. Dangerous submerged reefs surrounded us, and ships kept clear. But this one, this sailing vessel, was coming straight on. I went over to the gallery door and yelled, "Louis! Louis!" Couldn't understand it. I waited for the light to come around again.
What is it? Ship headed for the reefs! Hurry right up!
I had the glasses out now. I couldn't read her name, but I could see her quite plainly. All sails set, the foam creaming away under her bow, her beautiful lines. A Dutch ship, I guessed her. But why didn't she turn? Every time it passed, our light hit her with the glare of day.
Ship? Where?
Northwest. The light will touch her in a moment.
Can't they see?
Look at her. She just keeps coming on.
Yeah, the squarehead.
What is it? What is it?
Watch northwest.
I know what it is.
Huh? What?
The Dutchman, the Flying Dutchman. We did a play about her once. Oh, what a performance. You ghastly galleon, hag-ridden, curse-driven, must on.
Shut up, will you? She's luffing.
Yes.
Sloppy way to come about. She's derelict, that's it.
Derelict?
Abandoned. The crew left her for some reason or other. But instead of sinking, she's gone on, running before every wind.
She'll not run long. Not with these reefs to break her up.
A beautiful ship. Now, why would men leave a beautiful ship like that?
She didn't ram us, although we all expected it. But as we waited for the crash, she luffed again, caught some odd gust, and went about. We watched her the rest of those black hours, heeling and rocking, pushed and pulled by every stray wind, every freak current. Watched her until the dawn came, till the sea turned from black to a pearly gray. And on she came again, heading for us. We all had our glasses trained on her now.
August, you can kill the light.
Right, Chief?
She doesn't look so good by daylight. Think she'll ground this time?
What?
I say, do you think she'll ground this time?
Huh? This is impossible. Absolutely impossible.
What?
Here, take my glasses. They're better than yours.
All right. And what is it you're... I had to focus, and then my breath froze in my throat. The decks were swarming with a dark brown carpet that looked like a gigantic fungus, but undulating. And on the masts and yards, the guys and all were hundreds, no thousands, I don't know, an endless number of enormous rats.
See them?
Yes, I see them.
Now we know why she's derelict.
Yes, now we know.
What are you two doing? Here, give me a look.
Yes, give him the glasses. Take a good look, chatterbox. Give you something to talk about.
She's still heading for us.
Yes.
She's going to turn. She better turn soon.
Suppose she doesn't.
You mean suppose she piles up on the quay?
It's low tide.
Yes. Yes, it is.
Where's all the conversation, August, huh? Here, want the glasses again? Want another look?
No.
She's still coming on.
Go away. Go away.
Turn, will you? Turn, I say, I pray you, turn! She's cracking up.
The rats. Look, on the water. Like a carpet.
They're swimming.
Sure, they're swimming. Those are ship's rats.
But they're swimming for the rocks.
The door below. It's open.
Come on.
Down we went, racing down the stone stairs, taking them 3 and 4 at a time. Scared? You bet we were scared.
August, you get the windows. Maybe they can climb. We don't know.
Right, Chief. But hurry.
Look. See them?
No. Oh, yes, I do. up at the other end of the rock.
Look at the millions. They smell us. Here they come. Close the door.
Can't it stop?
Here, let me.
Oh, move, you move.
Heave.
Made it.
Holy. That was close.
One guy in. Look, there.
Get it!
Watch it. He's kicking. He was as big as a tomcat, bigger. And his eyes were wild and red, his teeth long and sharp and yellow. He went for us, starving, ravenous, and we fought him, fought that one rat all over the room. It was, oh, believe me, I do not exaggerate, it was like fighting a panther.
Got him.
We better get aloft. As we ran up the winding staircase, we passed the tiny windows of the various levels, and at every one was a thick, wriggling, screaming curtain of brown fur. I was ahead of Louis, and I dreaded each successive level. Suppose they had found a way in.
Look at them. Will you look at them?
It's a nightmare.
Will you look at them?
The air of the gallery was thick and fetid with the stink of them. The light was dim, brown, filtered through the crawling mass that swarmed over the glass all about us. We could not see the sky, nothing but them. Their red eyes, their claws, their wriggling, hairy snouts, and their teeth. The rats. They screamed and howled and threw themselves against the glass. They were starving. And we three, we stood very quietly. Oh, very quietly in the center of the classroom under our beautiful light. And we waited.
What can we do? What can we do?
Take it easy, old man. Take it easy.
I just can't.
It won't do any. Won't do any good to stand here and shake.
That's right. Anybody want a cigarette?
Yes, I have one. Thank you.
Good boy. We've got to keep calm about this thing. Here's a light.
They don't like the fire, do they?
Guess not.
Give me another match. You don't like that much, do you? I say?
Don't rile them, August.
Give me some more matches. I'll strike them and strike them and strike them until they get scared and go away.
They won't go away. Not until...
Finish it, Chief. Not until what?
Not until they've been fed.
You can take just so much horror and then you get used to it. And they were interesting to watch, you know. They couldn't understand the glass. They could see us and they could rush at us, but that thin, invisible barrier held them off, stopped them. From time to time, we caught a glimpse of the rocks below. More rats down there, swarming brown velvet in the bright tropical sunlight. And then the tide began to rise. If only it had drowned some of them.
Ship's rats don't drown. No, sir, you cannot drown one of them. They're all climbing up the tower.
This bunch around us is getting thicker.
Say, what's the time?
6:15.
You've got first watch, John.
Right.
Wake me at 10.
I will.
Come along, August.
It was getting dark. One side of the room was lit a soft, filtered red. Sunset through the rats. Oh, very pretty. I set the wicks, checked my fuel, and then lit the lamps. It caught them, lit them in their gigantic wriggling web of pale, hairless bellies, twitching red tails, bright eyes. Then I started the rotary motor. The light drove them mad as she swung slowly and smoothly about. She blinded them in the fierce stabbing bar of light, moving continually about, ever turning, ever touching, ever moving around and around, and they twitching and shuddering, eyes flaming when they were struck by the light. The bright light moving, and behind on the dark side of the room, so close, I dared not turn my back, but you cannot help turning your back when you're in a room made of glass. On the dark side of the room, you could not see them, but only their eyes. Thousands of points of blank red light blinking and twinkling like the stars of hell. Louis relieved me at 10, but I didn't get much sleep that night, and when I came up into the gallery early next morning, there stood August, his back to me. He was bowing to the rats, waving his arms and making a speech.
I am going to play once again that magnificent role which made me the toast of the Paris theatre. Prelate, the evil genius of the medieval underworld. I am he who did guide the dark soul of the Maréchal into the nether parts. Do not be frightened, little children. I will not
Kept
hurt
turning.
you.
I stood
much.
staring at him, horror-struck, but he didn't notice me. The man had gone mad. He kept turning, telling his stories to all the rats, leaving no one out. August! August!
Ah, another one. A latecomer. Take a seat on the aisle, dear patron.
August,
Move
stop
over
it,
there.
stop it.
Let the gentleman be
But
seated.
he didn't
Come,
stop.
come.
He went on, bowing and scraping to the rats, his big blue eyes rolling and winking, his wild red hair waving about him. I grabbed him by the arms and slapped his face. He looked at me like a child. And then his face screwed up. He looked as though he were about to cry. Go below, go on.
Oh, very well then. Later, my dear audience, later. Matinee today.
Sure, he was crazy. But I guess we all were. A few hours later, he came back up and caught Louis and me teasing the rats. Yes, sounds horrible. It was fun. We could get right up against the glass and make faces at them. It drove them crazy. They would scratch away trying to get at our eyes. Louis was even cuter about it. He'd pull a piece of bread out of his pocket and press it against the glass. The rats would scramble into a solid ball, biting each other, clustering like grapes. From time to time, a whole knot of them would slip and fall 110 feet to the surf below.
Look at the sharks!
They're eating them.
The sharks are our friends. Here, I'll get another bunch together. Here, my beauties. That's it. Pile 'em. Kill each other. There they go!
Auguste joined in too. Oh, very ingenious Auguste. He learned that if he spread-eagled himself against the glass, they'd bunch and bundle against his figure. Then he'd leap back.
Look, my portrait in rats.
It went on all day. And then I was lying in bed. It was about midnight. I was very tired, and I was just beginning to fall off to sleep when I became conscious of a new sound. Couldn't figure it at first. I got up, lit the lamp, and went to the window. Even as I looked at it, I saw one of the panes begin to sag in. They had eaten the wood away. Louis, come quick!
What? What is it?
They found a way in. I held the glass with my hand. Now they were all going crazy, and assured of the success of this maneuver, were all nibbling away at the wood. Louis ran below and then returned with a large sheet of tin. We spread it against the window and hammered it into place. Even as we did so, we felt the heavy bodies thudding against the other side as the window gave way.
That ought to hold. If it doesn't, we're done for.
Rats can't eat tin.
No, they can't.
What was that?
I don't know.
It came from below.
The storeroom window.
They're in. They're swarming up the stairs.
Drop the trap.
Right.
Two of them got in.
Let's go after them.
We didn't have to go after them. They came at us. I leaped to one side and grabbed a marlin spike, swung, and smashed one in midair.
No!
I whirled to see Louis with the other. It had ripped his hand open, and the blood was pouring all over the place. He held his hand aloft and kicked at the snarling rat. I stepped and swung and got him.
My hand! He got my hand!
That's both of them, Louis. I'll get you something to tie that up.
Blood! Look at it! My blood! I'm bleeding!
Now, don't worry about it, Louis. Here, look. I'll wind this kerchief around it. It'll be okay.
Blood!
There now. It's not bad, just the flesh. Then I became conscious of another new sound. They were gnawing their way through the wooden trap door. I watched the wood fascinated. And even as I did, it began to give way, and a bristling, whiskery nose showed through. Louis, we've got to go up. Next level was the middle quarters and kitchen. I slammed the trap door there, too, but it, too, was wood.
My blood! What are we going to do?
I don't know. We'll be through this one in a moment.
The gallery. The trap door in the gallery is metal.
Good. Come on. We made it. We lay across the trap door, exhausted, while below us the rats took over the entire tower. I could hear them howling and fighting over our food supply, our water, our leather. And all about us, the others screamed and glared in at us, swayed in a tangled mass, hypnotized by the ever-turning light. By morning, the air in the little room was horrible. Until now, we'd been getting air from the tower below. Now that was sealed off, and so was all our food and water. We lay exhausted, panting, waiting. The hours crawled on. I was almost dozing from fatigue when I saw a sight that brought me too fast.
Would you like to come in, my beauties? Would you? I hold the powers of life and death, and I can let you in, you know.
August was standing by the glass, and in one hand he held a wrench. He was tapping the glass gently, not quite hard enough to break it. I eased myself to my feet and slowly, very slowly, tiptoed toward him.
All I have to do is tap just a little harder.
I found a coil of wire in the toolkit, and I trussed him up, fastened him to a stanchion in the center of the room. Louis was of no help. He lay on his side, looking at his bloody hand, weak and sick as a baby. So there I was, a lunatic and a coward for company, and all about watching our little drama, the rats. The day dragged by. The supply boat wasn't due for another 12 days. I don't know what they could have done if they had come. We had only one way of summoning them, and that was to shoot off distress rockets, but the rockets were 4 floors below. And even if they'd been right there in the gallery, I couldn't have opened a window to fire them. That night, I tended the light, but its flame was devouring our oxygen. The following day, we lay, thirst-tormented, starving, waiting, and the following night, I again tended the light, but the small supply of spare wicking we kept in the gallery had become exhausted, and quite suddenly, about midnight, the light went out. There's nothing I could do. Wicks were stored 3 levels below. Nothing I could do. Nothing. From time to time, I'd strike a match to see the clock. When I did, it lit up the million red eyes about us. All about us. Watching. Waiting. Below, it had grown quiet. They'd cleaned us out, and now they, too, were waiting. All waiting. And then the rats, quite suddenly, were silent. And then I heard it. And then I saw the sky and the stars. The rats were gone. I went to the glass. Out there on the water, a small freighter, a banana boat, showing a few lights, came softly and innocently at us. The light was out, They didn't know. I wanted to open the windows to call out to them, to warn them somehow, but I was afraid. What if the rats were hiding from me, tricking me? So I waited. She grounded very softly on a reef not 200 yards from the quay. Grounded so gently that the man playing the cornet, was he a passenger or crewman off watch, didn't even stop playing. They tried washing her back off. I could have told them to save their fuel. The tide was rising, would have floated her free. And I waited. That's all. That's the story. The sun came up and there wasn't a rat on the whole quay. Every last one of that terrible army had left us, gone back to sea on their new ship. Auguste, insane asylum, he never recovered. And Louis, they took him into Cayenne where he died of blood poisoning from his bite. Yes. Well, that's the whole of it. And if you'll excuse me now, I must go set my traps. No mouse traps. No rats in this lighthouse, I should say not. Life in the lights isn't bad, but sometimes when I see a strange vessel approaching, I get a little nervous, sure. Somewhere on the seas, there's a little banana boat without a crew. That is, without a human crew.
Escape is produced and directed by William N. Robeson. Tonight we have presented Three Skeleton Key by George Tadouz, adapted for radio by James Poe and starring Vincent Price as Jean. Supporting Mr. Price were Harry Bartell as August and Jeff Corey as Louis. Sound effects on Three Skeleton Key, created by Cliff Thorsness and executed today by Mr. Thorsness, Gus Bays, and Jack Sixsmith, have been awarded the Best of the Year by Radio and Television Life magazine. Harry Essman was at the control panel, and special music was arranged and conducted by Del Castillo. Next week,
You are swimming for your life in the dangerous waters off the Florida Gulf Coast, about to be smashed by a launch carrying a vicious criminal who must kill you or die himself. And on shore, 500 yards away, the police are waiting to arrest you for murder, and there can be no escape.
Next week, we escape with an exciting tale of temptation and death on the Gulf Coast of Florida, as John and Gwen Bagney tell it in Danger at Matagumba. Goodbye, then, until the same time next week, when once again we offer you Escape. A patch of weeds, a boxer's biography, and a mild, lukewarm bath. They're all clues that lead the police of Jackson, Michigan to a killer in the gangbuster story on CBS this Saturday night. It's the case of the double push, to be heard on most of these same CBS stations this Saturday night. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
And there you have it. Three Skeleton Key. I actually am really glad that I never heard that version before, so that I could hear it right along with you, because that is a really good version. Whoa, hang on, let me, there we go. And holy cow, yeah. Vincent Price did a lot of radio. Not only did he do a lot of radio in the age of, the golden age of radio. So I think he started in the 40s, but he was doing shows all through the 40s, through the 50s. Then he continued to do shows, some of them syndicated, some of them played only in the British Empire. They played only in the UK. And we'll certainly hear more Vincent Price. He was really great in radio. A lot of comments about the sound effects. And I didn't realize until we heard the end there that they were an award-winning sound effects crew. That makes perfect sense. One of the nice things about Escape on CBS is it was a sustaining show. And a lot of fans know this, but if you're kind of new to radio shows, a sustaining radio show did not have a sponsor. So there were no commercial breaks. You'll notice we never broke. We never, we never talked about Atlas hats or, golden helmet hair oil. We never talked about any of those things to kind of break up the mood. So that's one of the great things about Escape. It's funny too that this broadcaster, this YouTuber, has both Suspense, which is a great series as well, and Escape. Suspense always had a sponsor, and they would always break up these incredible scary stories or thrilling stories with talk about spark plugs or soap. Taking a look at some of the comments. John Atkinson says, well, actually, no, let's go back to Raphael. Raphael was trying to guess. There was a secondary announcer. I don't know the name of the main announcer, and he probably said his name, but they would use a secondary announcer too, who would really tell the story and really pull you in. And sometimes it was William Conrad, and sometimes it was Paul Frees. What would you know? Paul Frees, you would know him as Toucan Sam from the Fruit Loop commercials, a million other things. William Conrad, of course, played Cannon, and he played, actually, he played Nero Wolfe for a short time. Remind me to bring that back. But he was also the announcer, the main narrator for the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. William Conrad. Love him. So Jake and the Fat Man, he was the Fat Man. I believe that one we heard tonight was William Conrad. That certainly sounds like it to me. Show it says, bring your rats next week, folks. And Raphael says, better to bring a cat. Chris is summoning up Phil Rizzuto. Holy cow. Hey, it's Phil Rizzuto from the Money Store. Famous name, and I can't say I know him. This was around the time he did Laura. Yes, Vincent Price did the movie Laura right around this time, 1947, maybe a little earlier than that. All right, let's see. Oh, that's funny. I'm sorry. I get some of these. Oh, Boris Badenov was played by Freeze. That's right. And William Conrad played Marshall Dillon on the radio version of Gunsmoke. Duh. I'm so dumb for not remembering that. He was huge. Oh, Chris, that's interesting you would bring that up. Toucan Sam was played by Chuck McCann. Maybe at some point. Chuck McCann, also famous for playing Sonny from the Coco's Puff commercials. And can I tell you, Chris, I was friends with Chuck McCann too. What an absolutely beautiful human being Chuck was. Just an absolute sweetheart. Really, anytime I get a chance to talk about Chuck McCann, I'm always happy to. Because I used to do radio commercials with him way back in the day. Yes, Matt Dillon. Rocky and Bullwinkle, that's right. And second base for the Yankees, then radio play-by-play, Phil Rizzuto. There used to be in the Village Voice in New York City. So when I lived there, it was 1989 to 1995. And Phil was of a certain age, and he would still do, his play-by-play for the Yankees broadcasts. And Phil would drift off. He would say these word segments. It was hard for him to focus. It's hard for me to focus. So I definitely feel for you, Mr. Rizzuto. But they used to, in the Village Voice, they used to put poetry by Phil Rizzuto, and they would basically take one of his tangents and they would just put it in poetry form. It was always good because if you listen to the Yankees broadcasts, you knew, yeah, that's exactly how he talks. Talking about Chuck McCann, Chuck was a great guy. I watched many movies at his house. Okay, you got one up on me. I never visited his house, but what an absolutely wonderful man. Paul Frees was also hired to overdub Mifune in the movie Midway. Oh my gosh, because his English was so bad. And I hope I'm getting Toshiro Mifune's pronunciation right, because I really respect him. Paul Frees did a lot of dubbing as well. I believe his voice is all over the original US version of Godzilla. You would hear Paul Frees very often doing dubbing. And my favorite Paul Frees job, and probably the one he's most infamous for, was did he play Paul? I think he played two of the Beatles in the Beatle cartoon. I believe he played John and George. And people hated his accent because it wasn't a Liverpool accent. And that was one of the reasons why a lot of people would never like the Beatles cartoon, was Paul Frees just refused to do much of an English accent. Chris, you have pictures Chuck McCann drew of you. That's awesome. Oh my gosh. Joe says, I've been teasing John tonight, but I'll have nightmares tonight about rats crawling into my bed ready to gnaw my face or something. I'm telling you, man, rats are creepy. I get creeped out by a lot of things, but rats is probably, Shode says, I've had rats invading my house recently, slightly nerve-wracking. Joe doesn't even know how right he was when he was talking about rats chewing through the floorboards, because literally in my remote farmhouse where I do this right now, there are rats under my floorboard and they do chew. And yeah, it's really a nightmare. Hey, now Templeton the rat ain't no creep. I don't know. He was voiced by a creep. Paul Lind. And I know how you feel about him, Diana. John Atkinson says Freeze is seen and heard in the movie War of the Worlds, playing a reporter. Oh my God, that's right. I think I just read about that recently. Paul Freeze is really just a great voice, just a fantastic voice. And you'll hear him the way you hear William Conrad. He's all over the place. Sometimes the lead, sometimes supporting, sometimes just doing announcing. Talking about the rats again. It's those beady eyes like on Spider-Hat. Oh, poor Spider-Hat. He never hurt anybody, which is not true, by the way. He's hurt quite a few people. He's very grabby and he's very handsy. And I think I told you guys the story when I first started wearing him, that the woman who made him, who's a great costumer, Kathy, and she's wonderful. She made him for a show that I directed. And she just sort of cut like his legs. So there's like a wire. There's like an ouchie wire sticking out of the end of each one of his legs. You can hear the rats chew, and that's scarier to me than seeing them. I agree. Diana says, I had rat infestation here at my cottage, and it's effing unnerving. So much so, because once they get in, they're like, well, now we live here. Got very loose squatting laws in this state. And I will say, but the the weirdest thing for me to be thankful right now is, as I think everybody knows, we got caught in the fire. We got caught in the mountain fire out here in Ventura County, California. And it really ripped through our property. And the building I'm in right now was actually saved. It was on fire. It was going to burn, but it was saved by the guys who ran our grove. We lost our grove. So now they're the guys who take care of our field of ash. They're putting in a new water system. We're planting more trees. It will come back. But the weird thing to be thankful for is the rats aren't under my floor anymore. I think they got killed in the fire. Ah, terrible. Terrible. Joe says an early Stephen King short story, Graveyard Shift, about giant mutant rats. Yes. Yes. Oh my. Thank you. Thank you very much. No, it was, thank you, Showed. It was an adventure. I managed to sneak back onto the property and put out quite a few fires myself, although all credit goes to the firemen, and they came from all over. So roasted rat, wee doggy. Oh man. It's something, but I'm really happy that I get to be here with you, and I'm really happy that we got to do this show, and we get to do all the shows. Next week, I will be bringing you an oddity, not so much an oddity, a rarity. There were 3 series on radio of Nero Wolfe. Only 1 episode remains of the series The Amazing Nero Wolfe. And it stars one of the most unlikely movie stars you could ever imagine as Nero Wolfe, the famous detective himself. So that'll be fun. It's a great show. I'm a big Nero Wolfe fan. I have a lot of friends who love Nero Wolfe. And if you're a fan of Rex Stout, they tend to be really fairly faithful to the original characters. And I think you're going to like it. I think you're going to have a good time. It will be on Thanksgiving. I'm not sure I will be live. I still haven't talked to the wife about that. And I do have to, I'm going to be as fat as Nero Wolfe at the end of Thanksgiving Day. So yes, it is a great way to cap it off, Joe. I absolutely agree. And Show, thank you so much. Chris, I believe it. And because you're certainly clever, and you're certainly a great entertainer. So yeah, that'll be the night of Thanksgiving. I keep forgetting that November 28th is Thanksgiving, and hopefully I can do this live. We'll see. We'll see how the family feels about it. Of course, I have to clear it with them. Coming up this Saturday, a very respectful and I wouldn't say somber, but very affectionate episode for Joe Townsend and me as we pay tribute to Tony Todd. Tony Todd, as you know, a great actor in genre fiction, just a real solid guy, and you never hear a bad thing about him. In all of show business, never heard a bad thing about Tony Todd. A real professional, a funny man, and put in really deep, sincere work. So we're not going to be goofing on it so much. We are, however, going to be celebrating this absolutely, I like the word iconic when you use it right. And Tony Todd was an iconic actor, an iconic figure in science fiction and horror, and especially in Star Trek. So that will be that will be a great episode. I hope you join us for the Love Fest, and it's a real one, because we really do love. And this episode too that we'll be discussing, Deep Space Nine: The Visitor, just, it makes me cry. It really does. Tony Todd breaks my heart. Cirroc Lofton breaks my heart. Armin Shimmerman breaks my heart. Just about everybody on DS9 can break my heart. So yeah, join us Saturday, 5 p.m. On the Pacific Coast, 8 p.m. on the Eastern Coast. And then on Sunday, we've got our friend Chris Regan back. Chris Regan, a writer of television and movies and books and such. But you would definitely know him from his work on Family Guy and his work on The Daily Show. And Regan actually requested that we talk about Irwin Allen. And so I hooked him up with with one of my favorite Irwin Allen programs, and that would be the episode of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, The Deadly Dolls. I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. This was the TV episode that taught me that some television is bad, and it's very funny. So as opposed to the respectful broadcast Joe and I will be doing on Saturday, on Sunday, we're back to mocking. And we hope you'll enjoy the watch party we will be doing of Voyage to the Bottom of the Sea, The Deadly Dolls, although we'll be covering all of the Irwin Allen, what's the word I'm looking for? Oeuvre. What an auteur that Irwin Allen. He made everything crappy. So we certainly hope that you will join us on Sunday for that, especially with Regan, because Regan is hilarious. He's hilarious at work. He's hilarious when he hangs out with his friends like us. And exactly. Chris says, I didn't come to help. I came to mock. Then Sunday is the show for you, my friend. Wait a minute. There we go. Thank you, Brody, for reminding us that Sunday's show is on a different channel. It's on Retro Rangers HQ. And if you can catch on, let's see, hang on a second. Oh, there you go. At Hello John Weber is my Instagram, and I'm spending a lot of time over there now. I have left Twitter for reasons that I think are obvious, so I'm not going to belabor them. Though you can find us on Facebook as well, Weber Internet Thingy. We have our SB80 page as well. There's Stepdaddy's Trailer Park of Fun. I still use that one as well to advertise this show. And you can find me, because Spider Hat and I are in the profile picture, so I'll be really easy to find if you want to find John Weber on Facebook. But Instagram, we're getting really good about having all our updates there, and we would love it if you would get in touch with me there. Got any questions, suggestions? If you just want to follow the account, that's great too. We do go out live, just as we're going out right now on Instagram. And I'm an ex-Twitter. I'm not an ex-man, but I am an ex-Twitter. Ex-Twitter to me. All right. Well, I think, bump. That's what that means, doesn't it, Showed? That's hilarious. Oh, cool. Oh, Chris. Yeah, we got to become friends on Facebook. Absolutely, brother. Absolutely. So I think that'll do it. Once again, next Thursday night, and it is Thanksgiving night, I will have an episode for you live. I'm kind of hoping, maybe everybody will be sick of me at the house, and I'll be able to come down here to my little garage office, and I'll be able to do the show because they're like, "Ugh, just no more John, please." That could happen. It does happen sometimes. All right, my friends, that's going to do it. Know when to end, John. Know when to end. Oh, thank you so much, you guys. Make my week on this show. And that'll do it. Take care, everybody. Spider Hat and I will see you in time for Thanksgiving. Hope you have a great holiday. Good.